Hello everyone, it's DiFusionGaming here for another episode of TWD. Now in this episode, we're going to be talking about what I think makes GD gameplay fun. What makes it enjoyable to play. Now the first and probably the most obvious thing is bugs. Nobody likes bugs when they're playing a GD stage. One of the more annoying bugs is portal positions. When you're going through a portal as a ship or something, you don't want to die after you go through it. You want to be able to make it no matter what. So you shouldn't have to adjust where you're entering the portal in order to actually survive. Now the next bug is the 70 Hertz or 144 Hertz bugs. Now this one is kind of hard to avoid because you can't really, not everyone can just test for these kinds of bugs. So it is kind of understandable if you can't avoid it. And I think this is more common in harder demon stages. So yeah, this one isn't that big of an issue, but it's still a bug. Now there's the black screen bug. A lot of people have probably been through this, but it's around usually it happens at the end of a stage. You're flying as ship or UFO or something. Or you're currently in a dash orb, and then the screen turns black. And then suddenly you die. Because sometimes the stage doesn't tell you what to do, whether you're supposed to let go or keep holding down, so that ends up killing you. And finally, transitions. Transitions is annoying. This isn't as much of a problem anymore. One of the main annoying transitions is when you're a wave, and you're going through the portal, but then... No, you're any vehicle but the wave, you go through the portal, and you turn into a wave. And then you die by the block the portal is currently on. This isn't as much of an issue because there's a block that allows waves to touch blocks, but I still do see it every once in a while. Now off of those kinds of bugs, now there's bad ramp rotation. Sometimes when you're going through a stage as a wave, the ramps can be rotated in a really weird way. And it'll make the ramps create larger hitboxes. I'll have a video in the background right now showing you what I mean. But when they're rotated wrong, you'll be dying on nothing. At least it looks like it's nothing. There has been a couple times, or a few times, where I got requested a stage that had a bug like this. And it annoyed me so much I decided just not to record because it's just really annoying. Because sometimes it'll be a really tight area you have to go through. But then it's actually tighter than it looks. And you don't know where to enter because you might just die in random places. So yeah, it's probably one of the most annoying ones for me. Now, next thing that makes GD gameplay fun, this is something that prevents it from being fun, is blind spots. I think I've mentioned it in a previous video before, I think in the first episode, but when you're falling up or down, and you don't know what to do, you don't know whether to click or not to click, because you don't know if you have to jump over a spike, or just let yourself fall. So yeah, that can be quite annoying. And sometimes, gameplay is being covered. You don't want it to be covered, there might be some kind of color covering the gameplay, or when you go in the little piece of gameplay that's being covered, you won't know what to do, so you don't really have much time to react. And then there's invisible portals, still with the blind spots. I bet a lot of us has also been through this, but when you're flying as a ship or something, and then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, your ship just teleports to a different place in a different vehicle, and then you die. Once again, you don't have any time to react. You have no clue what to do. This can even be a pain sometimes when you do know what to do, because it just kind of teleports your vehicle somewhere else. You'll be a ship flying through a section, an empty section, you'll teleport downwards into a cube, and then you'll jump into a spike. Because when you went through the portal as a ship, you were holding down left click, so you had your jump button already pressed. So yeah, this happened quite a few times. Now the next thing that'll make GD gameplay fun is making the stage readable. One thing that kind of prevents stages from being readable is invisible objects. One of the biggest things for invisible objects is bumper pads and how they kind of launch you. Sometimes when you're kind of entering through a ship portal, there'll be an invisible bumper pad and you won't be able to see it. So you're kind of flying up to get over an object, but the bumper pad actually boosts you and that along with your flying up will launch you into the ceiling and you'll die. So you don't really know what to do there. And then there's sudden moving objects. Sometimes objects, you'll be going through a section and then they'll just kind of pop out of nowhere. If you're in the range of that object, there's no way you can avoid it. You're just dead. You had no clue it was coming. It makes it difficult to make stages that are readable when your speed is really fast. So, and yeah, obviously, because when you're at a slow speed, the gameplay is obviously going to be a bit easier to read because you'll know what to do. But yeah, that's how readable stages would make it more enjoyable to play. Now next is difficulty balance. When you're playing through a stage, you don't want the beginning to be easy and the end to be difficult, because that's not very fun. Because like you start in a stage and you're like, oh, I can do this. So you start getting into that stage and you start playing. It's only the difficulty takes I don't know, it just goes up a lot. And then it's just kind of not enjoyable because you're already into a stage. You don't want to just quit the stage. There should be a difficulty balance in stages. And sometimes when you're playing a stage, there's like, let's say a stage is the same difficulty throughout the whole thing. But then there's that one final jump at the very end that's super difficult. Like no one, I don't know, at least me at least, I don't like one final jump at the end of a stage. I'll be going through a stage, and then right before the end, there's like a big spike jump you have to go over. I personally find that kind of annoying. Hey, maybe it's just me. Now, another thing that's not enjoyable about GD gameplay, it's kind of connected to the previous thing, is the very long auto parts at the beginning of a stage. And this is more annoying in demon stages or challenges, because every time you die, you don't want to go through like a 5 to 10 second auto part at the beginning, just to be thrown into really difficult gameplay. Like if you're gonna have auto parts, you should try to keep them at the end, because so you only have to go through it once instead of going through it every attempt. Now the next thing is repetitive gameplay. If you're doing the same thing over and over again for a long time and then you die, that's not very enjoyable. Like for example, there's a lot of Flappy Bird stages that are out, where you're just a UFO kind of going through a bunch of little areas. If you died to end of one of those, and you've been doing it for like a long time, you don't want to go through the whole stage again, because you're just doing the same thing over and over again. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this episode of TWD. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this episode of TWD. Hope you enjoyed. And if you have anything to add to this video, or if you agree or disagree with anything I said, make sure you let me down in the comments below. But yeah, that's gonna be it, so goodbye.